Today, we are joined by Jenna Horner, a mixed media artist in the greater Gainesville region. You've probably seen her murals all around town, and we are really excited to have her here with us today.
When running a business, you need an expert, a partner in your financial growth. With Florida Credit Union, your company can thrive. For the best technology as well as game-changing loan rates, rely on a better way to bank at Florida Credit Union. Member-owned, community-proud.
Hello, Jenna.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us and chatting with us. So for those that don't know your work, I'm sure they just realized that they have not seen it and didn't know it was yours, but tell us about what you do.
Well, I am a mixed media artist. I got my degree in painting specifically at the University of Florida about 4 years ago. Well, 5 years ago. Just had to do that math in this moment. But I am primarily a muralist. So I've been making murals for pretty much 5 years and have gotten pretty addicted to spaces, whether it's corporate or more urban environments. As a mixed media artist, texture and surfaces were always something I was exploring and experimenting with. And when I did my first mural, I fell in love. So at this point, I do consider myself a muralist as my primary focus as an artist. And super grateful to be here. Thank you for asking me to join.
So where and when was your first mural?
My first mural is located at the corner of Depot Park, where the roundabout is, if you are local to Gainesville. And it was the very first mural, a part of the 352 Walls initiative. So that's actually run by the city. And 352 Walls has now done an incredible job at continuing murals throughout the city of Gainesville. They have supported and brought in a lot of international artists, but that very first project was all local artists. So I was super honored. Honestly, I was fresh out of school and had absolutely no idea what the track was for me as a mixed media artist to fall into. So I found myself applying for as many opportunities as I could. I applied to do that mural project, got it. Had absolutely no idea what I was doing, climbed on a jungle gym on that corner, and that was 5 years ago. So my first mural was for 352 Walls. And then from there, it had a domino effect, and I was able to continue to make murals, primarily starting with local businesses. That is one of the best qualities of murals and public art specifically, is that they speak for themselves and they're public. So you give yourself an opportunity to kind of put a business card almost out there for yourself on the streets. So I've been able to feel the effect of that over the last few years, and am now in a place where stylistically I'm chosen for specific projects.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that your murals really create like a nice ambiance wherever you are. And where was your most recent mural?
My most recent mural is at 4th Avenue Food Park. And it's kind of a fun question, actually, because I am starting another one there that will be my longest mural yet, 300 feet in the back of the food park. So it's a very interesting size, but I just finished one on the side of the barbershop that's connected to Fehrenbacher's, which is a part of that food park. There's a bunch of awesome local businesses there. It's such a beautiful outdoor space, and to me is really defines what Gainesville is all about. It's about community and diversity within that community, unifying people under an umbrella of local companies and nourishment providers. I love that space, and I love the people that own it. So it's really important to me as an artist, as I've worked throughout the years, to work with people instead of for people. And that's just another place that I feel like I've been able to jump into and do that with everyone that's in that.
Yeah, it's been great to see that space expand even from what it first was. And I think the pandemic really had a very positive effect on them just because of that beautiful outdoor space, as well as so many different options that you can choose from. Like I always jokingly say that whenever one of my friends says, I don't know what I'm in the mood for, I'm like, let's just go to 4th Ave Food Park. You have like 4 different options you're going to be good. You're going to be good. Whatever you get,
it's so
you'll
true.
be happy. But speaking of pandemic, I mean, obviously it's been a difficult, bumpy ride for anyone. But you're in a very different world in that you are in the arts world. How has it affected you?
I feel like I have a backwards response to this, or at least maybe slightly unrelatable, in that I'm on the side of the spectrum where my work increased greatly as the pandemic started, and then continuing on just flourished. Really as a word, and it is beautiful, and it's been overwhelming at times to wrap my head around, honestly, as public spaces and corporate environments shut down. I was essentially invited in to be that living action that was still there, to bring life back to the space. And so that's how it started. But the domino effect that I felt going into COVID was, I just couldn't have imagined what my year was going to look like. Yeah, I think what's so interesting to me is that for years, I was always kind of willing. As an artist, you have to be really willing to know that there's not a lot of consistency within the work, or even with the financial qualities in the work, right? So for me, what was interesting was I felt like I had trained for what happened to so many people in COVID, where I was like, I've got this. I know what it's like to like not make money 1 month and then make all of my money 3 months later, so that riding the wave and the inconsistency I was prepared for. And then the exact opposite happened, where all of a sudden it felt like I had worked in this really difficult realm of being super unsure all the time of what work and money and all of the above would look like. And then as I entered through COVID, and it was a very interesting wave to ride. And I still feel like I'm there. I'm kind of catching up with myself and my own actions.
Do you feel like people's appreciation for the arts has maybe increased over the past year and a half?
Yeah, I think rather than an appreciation increasing, an awareness was increased. So there is a lot to be said for social media and the amount people are on those platforms. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't need social media to be that platform for awareness. But at this point, I feel like I'm extremely grateful to the ability that those platforms do have for us to find awareness on things that can really make a difference. And my primary focus is always that I'm affecting change in a positive direction as an artist, and as a public artist specifically, that people are affected by the art depending on the environment that they're in. It's extremely based off of that environment and the energy of the people that are in those spaces, the space itself. And that's really what I became addicted to and love so much about the quality of the work itself, is that it truly has the ability to affect change and to maybe bring awareness to people. That's my hope for it, So I think that appreciation increased with awareness increasing.
Understood. Now, so I know, obviously, I know this because we went to high school together, but I know that you've been in Gainesville for, a very long time. How do you feel Gainesville has changed in the sense of its appreciation and awareness of the arts over the years?
I love Gainesville, and I think that that is exactly like half the reason I'm still here, is that Gainesville is so progressive, and it's really cool to be a part of a town that is in its growing stages, and to kind of watch it and be a part of its roots growing, because I have felt so directly in my own work, and then just being able to watch it around me in so many ways with local businesses, how much change is happening here, and the people that are behind all of that are just wonderful people to work with. So it's been really cool to watch that growth. And especially in the last 5-6 years, like since I've gotten out of school onward, I feel like there's been so much just progression to change things in this town. And it's been really fun to have training wheels for, and to be working around others in that world.
Yeah, of course. I mean, even in the amount of murals that you do see around Gainesville, like those public art displays that we didn't used to have. Now we do. It makes Gainesville even a more beautiful place to be. It makes it a more vibrant place to be. It's really a nice benefit, a nice touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, art boosts morale, so there's plenty of other cities, especially major cities, have specific funding that are for this exactly, that they help beautify the town. And so I think it's really cool to watch a smaller city like Gainesville go ahead and see that happening in other places around them and respond to it and say, yes, that works, and we want to be a part of that. And yeah, it's been wonderful to ride.
I mean, prior to the pandemic, prior to all the changes that have happened in the past year and a half, I think Gainesville was a really great place for artists and for creators because there were always opportunities to showcase. Obviously, those opportunities have decreased quite a bit. What would you say is the best way to support our artists in our region at this point?
That is such a good question. And I was heavily involved with the art walks that happened monthly. I ran the one that was at First Magnitude Brewery for 2 years, and it was finally reaching this beautiful point where I thought, we made it here. There's artists, like consistent amount of artists there every month, and people actually showing up to see specific people and buy work from them. And that was just months right before the city shut down, and that was no longer. So we tried a couple of virtual options, but I would say the best way to support is these platforms, to stay aware on these platforms. A lot of it's free advertisement for artists, and as artists that aren't making a lot of money already, and then after a year of extra not making a lot of money, people that are on that up and up are using what's available to them as wisely as they can to showcase what they've been doing. This past year, I know just from personal experience with conversations with artists, it has been a year to make. It's like how musicians, it's been a year to write and create because they're not performing, right? So it's that same aspect where a lot has been created in the last year, and a lot of really profound, beautiful things have been kind of growing. And so now is a really great opportunity to seek out smaller companies. I think we have a culture right now where it is so efficient to just get on Amazon and order something, right? But consider maybe having more of like an awareness and considering what it is that you're buying. And if you could go back and support a local maker rather than getting your A, B, or C from the internet. There's a lot to be said for the efficiency, that we have cultivated through things like Amazon, etc. But Etsy is a fantastic online store. That would not be, as far as like going just to your region though, there's pretty cool ways to search on any of those engines for artists that are specific to your region and kind of keep it as local as you can.
Yeah, of course. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Gainesville really did come together during the pandemic. And I think I've probably said this in like every pivot interview that I've done, but we can come together even more so for those artists because yes, you're correct. Like a lot of people will turn to Amazon or they will turn to Etsy, which is great. You're supporting artists as well. But would we be even like the next level? Like, let's take that to the next level is searching for the local artists in our area, because I think pretty much anything you're looking for, you can find a local artist that's doing it.
It's so true. And I will go ahead and just do a shout out for the Gainesville Fine Arts Association and the Gainesville Fine Arts Gallery. They've transformed a lot in the last year, and that gallery is showcasing different works from local artists specifically. It's a nonprofit, and it's such a beautiful piece in this town that a lot of people have absolutely no idea it even exists right now because of everything with COVID. So I, in fact, just finished a mural on the side of that gallery space as well. But that's a beautiful, that's a really great, just overarching, I think, art network in Gainesville that you could go to and find out about all these other people and makers But that being said, there is a rise of markets and things kind of happening as we're slowly returning back to normalcy, whatever that might look like. GLAM, Gainesville Local Arts Market, is a fantastic market that's going to be happening more frequently than it has been. I know they just hosted one at Cypress and Grove. They host them at First Magnitude Brewing. So Gainesville Local Arts Market, Gainesville Fine Arts Association. Literally, if you wrote Gainesville and art into your search engine, right? Like you're going to find, like you said, there's a lot of people for things. And so but it takes effort, and it really does. I am certainly somebody that does try to keep an awareness about what I need or what I'm getting and where I'm getting it from. But even in that, I always say, try to find a balance, but just like meet yourself halfway. When it comes to supporting artists, try your best and also talk about people, that make things. That is like,
yes.
It doesn't matter how small of a town you live in. I have literally had people that live out of the country come to me because of conversations they've had with people. Right. So it's that small world concept, but how we speak about people we've met and what they create is so huge. And for me, it's a foundation for why I am where I am. I rely so much on first doing good work for good people that tell other people that you've done good work for them. I mean, those are just like, that's half of the reason I feel like I am where I am today is through communication and staying connected to people. And
yeah, I think that Gainesville, I always describe it as like that big city shoved into a small town, because there is like, just in Gainesville alone, that like small town mentality of like everyone being so welcoming and warm, and there being like, I don't know, 1 to 2 degrees of separation between everyone. But it is really cool to see, because word of mouth works so well here. I mean, it works well anywhere, but it works especially well here.
Yeah.
And I mean, with what you're saying, that's a great way to support your local artists, is just talk about them. Even if you didn't buy something from them, talk about how cool it was, what they made.
Totally. I wear jewelry or like certain things all the time and teach at a yoga studio. Somebody says, I love those. I'm like, here's this person's social media. Look at them. They're in town and they're this, and they would love to hear from you. It's really small things like that.
Coming back to you, obviously you have beautiful murals all around town, but you also are creating other things. What are some of the other things that you're creating nowadays?
Yeah, thank you. I've been doing a lot of custom commission work in addition to murals, which is where my heart really started with creating in the first place. I wanted to make personal narrative paintings for people. And if I had the ability, actually use sentimental materials of theirs to create with. So that idea of still being really intrigued with like building surfaces up, and that also every painting tells a story. For me, creating art in the first place is really about storytelling. And in addition to that, honoring this quality that's in all of us that is like unique. As individuals, we're also unique, but that we also share this common humanity. So for me, art can really unify people. And I think at this point in our culture and this time, we're in a great need for unity and to embrace that. So whether I'm making smaller pieces or larger pieces, I will say, as far as what I'm actually currently working on, my focus is murals. And then I have some indoor projects where I'll be doing some custom paintings this summer for people's homes. I always want to encourage people to go to my website and see some of those custom works that I love going into people's spaces and actually seeing what they've already got going on and making really, it's almost like if interior design and artwork come together, that I do both of those things. That energy I feel from spaces as a mural artist, I want to be doing for people in their individual homes. So going into their spaces and actually responding to what's already there, or responding to their stories, and then creating a painting that can really feel like it fits in the home, or fits for that family, right? And or individual. And so that's really important to me. And in that, something I've been working on for years that is kind of where my heart is right now is actually a mural series that that I would love to do in the public school system. I had an opportunity to do a mural at Williams Elementary School a few years back, and it was just one of the most rewarding experiences out of all the murals I do. That sense of deep purpose and also that affecting change was there through and through. I want to be able to show first younger students and specifically bring art back into the education system in a way that it can flourish again instead of being the first thing to go. So as somebody that does feel at this point like I finally made it to where I can say I am successful as an artist, I want to first just be able to represent that you can be successful as an artist.
It's doable.
It's doable. It's doable. It's so doable. And it's just, there's a lot of things to show you that it's hard work. There's a lot of doubt out there for it. And so I want to be able to represent that first in schools, but primarily I would be trying to spread messages of unity. I call them mindful messages is the name of the series. But what I'd like to be doing is perhaps getting some funding where I'd be able to go into public school system and do the work where I'd create a mural that would be in the school forever, but also have some collaborative element where the students could work with me, whether that's preliminary stuff where they help me with some design or focus for the mural itself, or actually getting hands-on with the mural itself at some point. It would be very cool to do that. So that's something for years now I've been contemplating, and I'm finally getting into some logistics, but there's lots of logistics that go into these things. Sometimes I think people see a big mural and they're like, it's a magic trick. And in a way it can feel that way, right? But there's an element to it that's kind of fun, that it can feel that way. It's like, oh, it was just a normal wall one day and now it's this. So it definitely has that quality. But there's a lot of logistical work to go into it. So wish me luck. That's definitely my baby right now, is trying to bring something to life that for a long time I've been really interested in doing.
I think that's like a beautiful vision and plan, especially because of how it affects the youth in our region. And I mean, if you can encourage art appreciation when they're young, then you don't have to worry about trying to get them to feel that way when they're older. I think it's really powerful. Not to mention the impact it has on youth, but also, I mean, even speaking on developing that space and going back to what you were speaking about before, with kind of that interior design matched with the art and coming in and doing a custom work. I mean, you really do expand and change that space in such a positive way. And I think you're at like a perfect time to do that kind of thing, because everyone has been nesting so much and trying to change their space into somewhere they actually want to be, especially when you're working from home. I mean, yes, I think that a lot of people's ears probably perked up at you saying, you're going to change my space.
Yeah. And I've already felt that. That was part of that growth in COVID, was people were stuck at home and they were like, I've hated this room for 10 years already. I have to sit in it for a whole year by myself. So I've gotten super into kind of marrying those two ideas of mixed media art, of this obsession with environments, spaces, energy within the space, and just kind of finding a balance between whether it's a mural you want or a custom painting, but it can still be about your space and specific sites,
Yes. But I mean, altogether though, thank you for bringing your work into the greater Gainesville community. And, like you said, teaching others that being an artist as a full-time job is doable.
I just always sit back in a chair of like deep gratitude for that progression I've felt in Gainesville, but specifically for the chain reaction of how people communicate in this town. And it's hard to catch up with my own actions sometimes. I just keep going and saying yes to projects And I absolutely love the work that I do. And I feel super honored to continue to create. I keep telling myself there's only so many walls in this town, but then I just stay and I keep making art in this town. So Gainesville has my heart right now, and it feels extremely supportive. I think as an artist, and that's in that relationship we were talking about earlier to COVID, you grow with feeling kind of uncomfortable for a long time. And that's what a lot of people felt this past year, was discomfort and the unknown, right? That we just don't know what happens next. And so agreeing to be an artist, you agree to that right away. It's like you sign a permission slip of like, I give myself permission to always feel kind of uncomfortable, like never know what's going to happen. And so in that, it is really a blessing to feel so comfortable now in the work that I've built to a point where I can actually just kind of sit here and enjoy doing the work itself. That it's got a nice place to land. So
yeah, I think it's a great message to, anyone, is sometimes you have to power through that uncomfortableness. And especially over the last year and some change, you got to just power through. Unfortunately, sometimes life throws you things that you don't want, and you got to power through. There's no other way than forward.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's not really about what we want. It's about what we need. Mm-hmm. And, as strange as this might sound, I think that there are a lot of elements that happened. There's so much compassion that I have for anybody who's lost somebody throughout COVID. And there's the obvious defaults and really upsetting points of what we've all experienced this past year. And in that, I think it's kind of an alarm clock for a lot of people to wake up to what they do already have and what they already know is theirs. I'm in addition to a muralist, a yoga teacher and instructor. And so it feels very important to me that, coming home in a different sense and kind of acknowledging what you already have and moving forward from that place in a humble way is maybe what we needed and not what we wanted for many of us. So
yeah, of course. I mean, I'm the same way. You always have to find that silver lining, no matter what the situation or circumstance may be. There's always something good that can come from it. But thank you so much for joining us today for our session.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Of course. We've always been enamored with your work around town. So we're really lucky that we got to have a little chat with you as well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's contagious as far as hopefully it making people feel more uplifted, and as we can share that with each other. That's the goal. It's just to share it.
Together we are Gainesville.
That's right. I love that.
Gainesville, Florida was recently ranked the #1 giving community in the country. With the onset of the pandemic, there were even more opportunities for giving, and our community truly stepped up. As we move forward together through this pandemic and into the future, I am confident that our community will only continue to give more and more and support each other. Together, we are GNV. Thank you again to Florida Credit Union for being the presenting sponsor of our All-In GNV Pivot Series. And thank you again to our speaker sponsor, Cox Business. Also, thank you to our annual sponsors and our Circle of Champions and our media partners who help underwrite this program.